Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast.
Great to be diving into another story.
And today, well, we're heading back to New Orleans, early 20th century. Forget the usual true crime narratives for a moment.
Yes, yeah.
We're exploring something really quite bizarre, chilling, unsettling, the tale of the Axeman.
That's right. This isn't just folklore. Between, was it May 1918 and October 1919?
Yeah, about that time.
An unidentified killer absolutely terrified the city. So our plan today is to sort of unpack the key events, look at the strange details, the methods.
And the questions that still hang in the air, right? Because this one, it's a real puzzle.
A genuine historical enigma, exactly.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It starts May 23rd, 1918. An Italian grocer, Joseph Maggio, and his wife, Catherine.
In their home, attached to their shop.
And the discovery was just horrific. Not just a murder, but the level of violence was extreme, wasn't it?
It really was. Their throats were cut, apparently with a straight razor. But then they were also struck violently with an axe.
An axe that likely belonged to them.
Probably. And the reports say Catherine's head was almost severed. It's incredibly gruesome.
And right away, there were weird details. A message.
Yes, this cryptic message, chalked or scrawled on the pavement nearby, something like, Mrs. Maggio will sit up tonight just like Mrs. Tony.
Just like Mrs. Tony. What does that even mean? Was it a reference?
People believe it referred to a much earlier attack, back in 1912, also on Italian grocers. So it suggests the killer knew local history, or maybe was even involved before. It's unsettling.
It implies planning, or at least awareness. And then there were the clothes.
Right. Bloody clothes found at the scene, suggesting the killer actually changed after the attack.
Wow. Okay. And the murder weapon, the razor, wasn't even left inside?
No, it was found discarded on a neighbor's lawn. Belonged to Joseph Maggio's brother, Andrew.
Andrew. So suspicion fell on him.
Initially, yes. It's natural, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough evidence, and he was released. Crucially, though, robbery wasn't the motive. Valuables were left untouched.
So not a simple robbery gone wrong. That's clear from the start.
Definitely not. The motive seemed absent, or at least not financial.
And this sets the stage. A brutal, strange attack, weird clues, no clear motive. And then happened again, didn't it? Pretty quickly.
Yeah, just about a month later, June 1918, Louis Bessumer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe.
Attacked in their place behind his grocery. Similar setting.
Similar, yes. This time with a hatchet, though. Again, apparently, Bessumer's own hatchet, found at the scene.
He survived.
Bessumer survived, yes. But Harriet Lowe was severely injured, paralyzed, and she actually died a few months later.
God, that's awful. And did this attack clarify anything?
Yeah.
Or just add more confusion?
More confusion, really. There were arrests, accusations. It highlighted how chaotic the police investigation was becoming.
And Lowe apparently accused Bessumer himself.
She did, yeah, right before she died. But he went to trial and was acquitted. So another dead end, another layer of uncertainty.
It feels like the killer is almost deliberately sowing confusion, or maybe just incredibly elusive.
Could be either. And the pattern, or lack thereof, continued. August 1918. Anna Schneider.
Right, she was 8 months pregnant, attacked in her bed.
Horrifically injured. Bashed in the face, scalp cut open. She survived, miraculously, and her baby was born healthy a couple of days later. But again...
Nothing significant stolen.
Exactly. And then just days later, still in August, Joseph Romano, an elderly man living with his nieces.
Attacked in his sleep.
Yes. Hit hard on the head, his nieces found him, heard the commotion. They saw the attacker fleeing, apparently.
They get a description.
Described him as dark-skinned, heavyset, wearing a dark suit and hat, but, you know, in the panic and darkness.
Hard to be sure. And Romano died from his injuries. The scene.
Home ransacked, but again, nothing obviously stolen. A bloody axe left in the backyard. And this detail keeps popping up. The back door panel was chiseled out.
Chiseled. Not kicked in, but carefully removed. That feels specific. Almost like a signature.
It does, doesn't it? This method of entry, the axe often belonging to the victim, the brutality, the lack of clear theft. Fear was mounting in the city. People reported seeing suspicious figures everywhere.
I bet. You even had that retired detective floating the idea of, like, a split personality, right? A Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, trying to rationalize this seemingly motiveless violence. Someone who appeared normal but had this hidden, brutal side. It shows how desperate people were for an explanation.
And just as the city is gripped by this fear, the Axeman apparently decides to write a letter to the newspapers.
This is where the story takes a truly surreal turn. March 13th, 1919. Several newspapers received this letter. purportedly from the killer himself.
Claiming to be, what, a demon?
Something like that. A spirit and a demon from the hottest hell, I think was the phrase.
Okay.
Very theatrical. And he makes this announcement.
Go on.
He threatens to kill again, very specifically. Next Tuesday night, March 19th, at 15 minutes past midnight.
Okay, terrifying. But there was a catch, right? The weirdest catch imaginable.
The weirdest catch. He says he's very fond of jazz music, and he promises to spare anyone in any place where a jazz band is playing at that specific time.
Bob slightly. You can't make this stuff up. Spare the people playing jazz. What was the reaction in New Orleans? Did people think it was a hoax, or did they take it seriously?
Well, hoax or not, nobody wanted to take the chance.
Yeah.
The reaction was incredible. That Tuesday night, the city absolutely exploded with jazz.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Dance halls were packed to the rafters. Professional bands, amateur musicians, people playing records on their Victrolas at home. The entire city, from grand halls to private homes, was just filled with the sound of jazz music.
That's amazing. It's like a collective ritual to ward off evil, a citywide jam session against a serial killer.
It's an unbelievable image, isn't it? Using music as, like, a shield. A very New Orleans response, perhaps.
And the fun fact, I guess, is it worked. Did anyone get attacked that night?
No. No murders were reported on the night of March 19th. The Axeman, if it was indeed him who wrote the letter, kept his bizarre promise.
It just adds this layer of almost mythical quality to the whole thing. Makes you wonder about the psychology behind it all. Was it a game? A taunt?
Who knows? It certainly cemented the Axeman's place in notoriety. But, the relief didn't last long.
Right. The attacks didn't stop forever after the jazz night.
No, sadly not. Later that same month, March 1919, the Cordemelia family was attacked. Another Italian grocer, Charles Cordemelia, his wife Rosie, and their 2-year-old daughter Mary.
Oh no, the daughter.
Little Mary was killed instantly. Struck with an axe, Charles and Rosie were terribly wounded, skull fractures, but survived.
And the entry.
Again, a panel chiseled out a back door. Bloody axe left behind. Same pattern.
This case had a really troubling aftermath too, didn't it, with the neighbors?
Yes, very much so. Rosie Cordemelia, likely delirious from her injuries, accused her neighbors, Orlando Giordano and his teenage son Frank.
Neighbors she apparently had a good relationship with before.
Exactly. But based on her accusation, they were arrested, tried, and actually found guilty. Sentenced to life and death, respectively.
But she recanted later.
She did. A year later, she admitted she'd lied, possibly out of fear or confusion, or maybe in pressure, we don't know. The Giordanos were eventually released. It just shows the panic and paranoia. Innocent people almost paid the ultimate price.
Such a tragic side effect of the fear the Axeman generated. It wasn't just the direct victim.
Absolutely. The whole community was suffering.
Hey everyone, just jumping in for a second. If you're finding this story as gripping and frankly as strange as we are, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Here on Tell Me More, we dive into these fascinating, sometimes forgotten corners of history every time, and you won't want to miss what's next. Okay, back to the Axeman.
Right. So after the Cordemelia attack and the wrongful conviction drama, there were still more incidents attributed to the Axeman, even after the jazz letter.
Which kind of throws the whole jazz promotion theory out the window if anyone actually believed it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In August 1919, Steve Boca, another grocer, was attacked. Woke up to find someone standing over him, got hit on the head. Yeah, he survived. Ran to get help. Again, back door chiseled open, nothing apparently stolen.
It's relentless. Then Sarah Lohman in September.
Attacked in her apartment.
What?
Found unconscious, severe head trauma, some teeth knocked out. This time, the intruder apparently came through an open window, not a chiseled door. But
Let me guess. Bloody axe found nearby.
bloody axe found outside the building. Yep.
And then the final attack. The one generally considered the last.
Mike Pepitone. October 1919. Attacked in his bedroom. His wife was woken by the noise.
Did she see the attacker?
She did. She apparently saw a large axe-wielding man fleeing the room as she entered. Pepitone died from his injuries.
So a potential witness description again. Large man carrying an axe, but still not enough to identify anyone.
Not enough. And after the Pepitone murder, nothing.
Just silence.
Just silence. The attacks stopped as abruptly as they began. The Axeman vanished. Never identified, never caught.
Leaving this terrifying legacy and a whole bunch of unanswered questions. And theories, I assume. People must have tried to figure it out.
Oh, absolutely. Theories galore. Given that many early victims were Italian grocers, the mafia connection was floated.
Was there any evidence for that?
Not really. No concrete evidence ever linked organized crime to these specific attacks. It seemed more like ethnic prejudice or just grasping at straws.
What else? The nature of the attacks, often on women in their beds. Any sexual motivation theory.
That was considered too, of course. But then you have male victims like Basumer, Romano, Boca, Pepitone.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite fit neatly. The victims were varied in age and gender.
So, not straightforwardly sexual, not straightforwardly robbery, not clearly mafia. What about specific suspects? You mentioned Joseph Monfrey earlier.
Yeah, there was a theory years later connecting him to the crimes, but subsequent research has pretty thoroughly debunked that. It doesn't hold water.
And the Frank Doc Mumphrey idea, related to the jazz connection.
A more recent theory linking a man involved in the sort of jazz business underworld. It's intriguing, points out some coincidences, but again,
No smoking gun.
no smoking gun, just speculation. Like all the others, the Axeman remains officially unidentified.
It's just one of America's great unsolved mysteries, isn't it? The combination of the sheer brutality, the apparent randomness, that bizarre jazz letter. It's unique.
Utterly unique. It doesn't conform to typical serial killer patterns, if there even is such a thing. The lack of clear motive is probably the most baffling part.
And thinking about that night, the whole city playing jazz, it's more than just a quirky anecdote.
Right. It says something profound, maybe, about community, about fear, about how people respond to terror. Using music, something inherently creative and lively, as a defense against dark, destructive violence.
What kind of person could inspire that level of fear, that kind of reaction, and then just disappear, become a ghost?
Exactly. The silence after October 1919 is almost as chilling as the attacks themselves. Did he die? Did he move away? Did he just stop? We simply don't know.
It forces you to think about how fragile order can feel and how powerful the unknown remains, even over a century later. The story doesn't offer easy answers.
No, it definitely doesn't. It leaves you with chills and a lot to ponder.
Well, that's our deep dive into the eerie case of the Axeman of New Orleans, a story full of shadows and unanswered questions. Thank you for joining us.
And until next time on Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast, keep asking questions and keep exploring those hidden histories.